Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Wayne Sutton, who's the coach of coaches. He is a trainer of life coaches who's helped people all over the world reach their goals and dreams. Wayne, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and look forward to sharing with you and your audience.
Super. Well, I want to get into what you see in the industry, how you help your clients, what sets you apart. Give us a little bit of background on yourself and then what led you to this world of coaching.
Okay. Well, number one, I'll begin with my story briefly is I became a coach from being a therapist. So my degree is actually in temperament therapy. Marriage, family, really started helping people on those personal levels. But then there was as with any therapist, coach, business owner, there's the whole marketing side. And so I knew I could help people, but I just couldn't find the people I needed to help. And it became this situation of nobody knows you. It's, obscurity is your biggest enemy. And I thought, how can I find the right clients that need my help? And so that began about a 10-year journey of marketing, working with other counselors, working with other coaches, and then came into the realization that I wasn't the only one in that bucket. I wasn't the only one that said, I can help people, but where are my people? And so really began to help other coaches, counselors, consultants, how to attract the ideal client. And client attraction is a term that's thrown out a lot, very cliche, I had to say. But really, how do you attract the right client that needs what you have? And so that's how it formed. It was not I woke up one morning and thought, hey, let's do this. It was really you learn about osmosis, and then helping other people, you recognize your strength and your weakness. And kind of before the call, we were joking about that. I believe in amplifying your strength and outsourcing your weakness in life. And that's my journey is now helping coaches and consultants do the same.
I love it. And one thing that stood out to me, let's dive right into this, is question number one, because I love having these interviews because, you learn from other people. And you may know a whole lot more than me in some areas. I might know a whole lot more than you. But if we have this brainstorming session and the listeners can learn something, then wow, what a great thing. So you said attracting the right client, the right target audience. And the typical focus would be, let's focus on that attracting part. I want to start with, how do you know who your perfect, great, right target audience is? What do you work with your clients who are coaches to really dial that in? Because before you can start attracting, you need to know who you should be attracting.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think one of the things that coaches and consultants and just business owners run into is this scarcity mindset of, I need clients, I'll work with anybody. I've been there. And so you really just kind of work with anybody, try to help anybody. But in doing such, you're so vague, you never speak to that one person. You don't, for lack of better words, sing that song that just resonates with them. And so I think the way that a client can find, a coach can find the perfect client and attract the perfect client is with their story. Tell their story. Let their story be almost like a song that attracts the right person. And so it goes back to realizing not only why they're in business and who they're in business for, but what motivates the coach. We hear a lot of people say, hey, you need a mission statement. You need a vision. What's your vision, your mission statement? I don't think a mission statement is as much used for client attraction as it is for the coach itself to go, wow, this is who I really want to serve. This is what I believe in. And it goes beyond marketing, gets into the why, the heart matter. I helped a lot of people through marriage and divorce and situations, but I realized it drained me. At the end of the day, I was suffering. I was so empathetic that I pulled it in, and I realized that's not where I want to be. I want to help people grow their business. So I had to shift my business, and So, sometimes it's just literally putting your hand to the plow, for lack of a better word, just going out and doing it and realizing, I'm good at this, but it doesn't drive me. It's not my passion.
So how granular and niche do you feel that a coach or consultant needs to be when defining the target audience? Meaning this, okay, tell your story. Well, my story is that whatever, right? Here's my story. But that still could attract who knows who. So my question is, I think that there's a misconception with, you get rich in the niche. You get riches in the niches. So you got to really, really dial it in. And I personally feel this. What do you think? I think, using me as an example, so I've got an MBA in marketing. I work with entrepreneurs in marketing, so I'm a marketing consultant. But if I said I'm a marketing consultant, wow, that's really broad. So I could say I'm a marketing consultant for dentists, and there's my target audience. I could even go deeper and say I'm a marketing consultant for cosmetic dentists. Ooh, that's even deeper. But what I do is I say, rather than picking a specific vertical, I pick a specific aspect of my consulting, and I say I'm an authority positioning strategist. I'm an authority marketing strategist. So now it doesn't matter whether I'm working with a dentist, chiropractor, lawyer, or entrepreneur. I'm not just a plain generic marketing consultant. I help them be seen as that expert and develop their authority. So when you work with clients and you're developing that target audience, do you find that sometimes you want them to work with a specific vertical? And also, do you find that what they provide is unique enough that can spread and span across multiple verticals because they then become known for that way they deliver the product or service?
It's a great question, and one of the keys to answering that is really depending upon that coach or that consultant. And some of them, I work with one coach now that is a parenting coach. But she's not just a parenting coach. She's a parenting coach for executives, and she's a parent for busy entrepreneurs that do not have time. I don't know if they don't have time, but really have a struggle in their parenting role. So, but then there's others that maybe they don't want to be niched down. I really think it depends on the independent coach. I love the niche, and as you said, if you're working with dentists, great. Cosmetic dentistry, even better, because now they go, oh, this person's for me. But I think it really goes back to the coach also, how they feel.
But let's use that parenting coach example. That parenting coach could say, in my opinion, is you are successfully targeting your audience when you work with executives. Check that box. But also, what if they came up with this proprietary coaching software? And I'm just being facetious. Who knows whether this kind of thing would even exist. But what would happen if their proprietary signature solution method was in this software that you type in every day, how you're feeling and your kids are this, and goals and aspirations every day, because they change, and then it gives you these fun tips to go ahead and quick, easy text to send your kids and activities you can do with very little blah blah blah. So now you become a really unique parenting coach because of how you deliver, and then it doesn't matter if you are an executive or a single mom or a whatever. So I think that that's something neat for people to understand when talking about, hey, before we start attracting, who is your target audience? And you can go a couple ways without feeling like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not targeting the right way.
I think that's very important. I think what you said is so key, because I also see in the coaching, I'd be jumping off a little to the side here, but I see in the coaching industry, here's someone's pain, and we're going to immediately bring them a promise. And the problem is, it sounds too good to be true sometimes, but having a process, you just mentioned, that proprietary software, that's the process. And you don't have to give away the full process, but if you let someone know, here is our process, our blueprint, our formula, and you name it properly, wow, okay, then I want that'll work for me. Instead of just saying, hey, you have this, here's the solution. I think too many coaches, too many business owners, hey, lose 5 pounds in 5 days. Wow. Well, what do we do now? Lose 10 pounds in 5 days. And just instead of saying using this, proprietary software, as you said, or system, So I think that's
well. Let's jump off a little more in the
weeds
weeds and tie what you just said to the why that you mentioned previously, because I agree with you. You got to have that why to pull you. But when you have that why, whether it's setting your personal goals or messaging your target audience, that why must be believable. Because guess what?
Absolutely.
Lose 5 pounds in 10 days. It's like, hold on. That means that I'm losing a half a pound a day. Is that, or lose 20 pounds in a month? That sounds interesting, but man, is that believable? And then, so that why needs to be there, but it needs to be feasible and believable. And I get the stretch goals and all that. Well, at that point, you may as well set a goal to make $1 million this year. But if you only made 100,000 last year, that's not really believable to yourself. Now, if you made 900 and you want to increase by 10% and cap off at $1 million, okay, that's probably pretty believable for you. So speak a little bit about when you're working with your coaches, who then you're training to work with their clients, developing that why for them professionally or personally. How does believability tie into that?
Believability is so powerful because, yes, you want to attract people, and we see these claims that you've got to catch the attention of the person. I get that. But you've also, believability goes back to just the way the mind works. Anything that says, wow, too good to be true, we have sales resistance. And then if it's believable because there's a process, back to the process, that makes it easier. If you said to somebody, hey, lose 5 pounds in 10 days or whatever it is, and the reason you haven't in the past is because you've tried this, they go, yes, I have. They get me. They understand. But what you didn't know is you didn't know about ketones, and then you get into a ketogenic diet. So it's not your fault. This is what's missing. Or, hey, if you're a coach and you're not earning at least $10,000 a month, then here, for some people, they're like, that's not even believable. Some people, it is believable. But how do we show us believability? Number one, with case studies, using a proven formula. Here's what you do on Monday, Tuesday. I'm working with a coach now, and we literally have their marketing that they're showing their real estate agents. Here's what you did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to take off. So it's a great sales message because they're like, oh, I get some time off for real estate. That never happens. But more importantly, now they see a blueprint of certainty. And if it worked for Jane and Roger, it should work for me because it's the same process. That's one way to increase believability. Testimonials, anybody can make them or fake them. But you have a process that they see, oh, I can do this. That's one way to increase. And when it comes to income claims, something that I remember from years ago, actually it was Tony Robbins who said people can believe for double their income, maybe triple. Beyond that, they don't even believe it. So your income claims are hurting you, not helping you. So you really, are you selling income or are you selling lifestyle? And so that's really back to believability. What can they believe based on what they've already seen, and then show the proven process in the system.
Yeah, that's really good. So let's now shift into how you work with coaches and consultants to then attract this now target audience we've talked about. And how do you do that using automation? Because I know that's a big thing these days is, do I need to smile and dial and have an hour power of, cold calling and just call, or, do I do blast emails? So there's a lot of ways that go up underneath automation, but how can coaches and consultants use automation to help the process?
Yeah. So first, I would like to maybe put another definition on automation, or maybe an understanding of automation, because that's another key word that people grab a hold of. And what does that mean? Does it mean I click a button and now clients come to me? There's automation in a lot of things, such as, if somebody has Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or whatever, and the emails and text messages go out. I believe automation is the key to reaching a broader audience, but I also believe it's a way of keeping your message in front of the right people. The intent of automation should be to humanize you. So we're using something that's mechanical, robotic, to bring humanization. And so what I teach my clients to do is recognize people have different modalities of how they learn, how they like to receive information. Some are going to listen to a podcast like this. Some are going to watch videos. Some are going to read an article. So how can we bring those different modalities through automation? And so there's the warm-up if it's a cold lead, they've never like, who is this Wayne Sutton on this podcast? Well, that's a cold person. I'm cold to them. How do we warm them up? And that is through the automation of, again, emails, text messages, even the ringless voicemails, dropping phone calls. So there's a whole system behind it, but it really goes back to how can you humanize it? If the thought process isn't how can I automate, but how can I make automation bring back humanization and connect one-on-one as much as possible at scale? And that's always a dance. You got to dance around. But I think if you're using email, great. If you're using a podcast, great. But how can you humanize it? Bring your personal self in there. And then how can you take that content and immediately or quickly place it into other areas to be seen and to automate that as well? And there's a number of software that we use for that. But software is not the key. It is the automation to humanization.
And it's the intent behind it, and it's not to hide behind it. It's to enhance those in between times when you're working with, talking with your clients. So that's a really big
exactly
point.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about something you teach on, which is hypnotic language that sells coaching. I agree with, marketing messaging, message to market, NLP. But I want to ask this question, and this is a zinger for you, and you didn't know I was going to ask this. You don't know any of the questions I'm going to ask.
I like those that I don't know. I like those questions that I don't know.
Yep. So I always hate, I've been in the sales business and marketing for decades and decades, and I always hate when people use those things on me, like these sales techniques. Oh, I know how you feel. Other people felt the same way. What they found was, and I'm like, oh, come on. Or what's it going to take to get you into this car? And I literally, guess what? That old used car ad is, what's it going to take? I had that used on me before, and I get so perturbed. So I feel like using hypnotic language to sell anything, coaching, whatever, is a slippery slope, because if you don't do it right, then watch out. Kind of like this. Have you ever heard of aping, where you're taught to kind of mimic the tone of person, or if you're in person, use the same hand expressions, or if they lean back in their chair, cross their legs, do the same thing? Well, that could fire on you big time, because now it's like, what are you doing copying me? So speak about hypnotic language, but doing it the right way.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because if you're somebody that listens to this and they go jump on and study NLP for sales, you're right. It's sit the way they sit, talk the way they talk. I've even had people say, look at how they breathe, and then try to breathe in the same time. If you do that, you're so off focus.
Just be you.
So, here's how to be you and be hypnotic about it. And I learned this, I truly learned this from a hypnotist. I was at a stage hypnosis show, and I thought, this is so fake. And then I'm staring at the little red light, and he's talking, and I literally caught myself like going into trance. And I'm like, he's not getting me on stage and making me look like a fool. So I just shook my head, took a drink of my Coca-Cola, and I kind of broke the pattern. But I saw him perform, and then afterwards I pulled him to the side, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what your fee is, but I want to learn what you just did. And he was so fast. He said, what do you want to learn it for? Do you want to be my competition? Do you want to learn it because you're curious? I said, I want to learn how to help people. I'm a therapist. People make bad decisions every day. You just made this man look like a chicken. And he said, Wayne, hypnosis really is just getting into the core of that person's being. And we had a long conversation, but here's hypnotic, to save you a long story, here's how you use hypnotic language. Hypnotic language is simply getting people to focus off of everything else but what you're talking about. If you turn on a TV show, if you ever watch somebody that's really into a TV show, they're really into it, you can call their name, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, what? They're into the show. It's the power of story. Now, a lot of people talk about storytelling, but the power of all a story is taking someone's focus and putting it in on you and the message. Now, in the story, can you talk about how you help someone overcome their addiction, how you help the dentist triple their business? The story is the hypnotic part. It's nothing secret about it, but it's just the basics of storytelling. Now, do I think NLP has a place there? Sure, but it's not using. There was an NLP trainer that would say use embedded commands like "buy now." our program. You know,
yeah. Or by now, you should realize that this is an important concept. Well, they mean BY now, buy now, but they mean your brain hears buy now. So,
ambiguity.
Yep.
Yeah, the phonological ambiguities. And so here's how you do it. Here's how I use hypnotic language. One of the first things that hypnotists will do is get people to use they use vague language. You're going down the staircase. They don't say a white staircase with with brass fit. They say you're going down the staircase. Your mind fills in the images. So when I tell people, if you think about your business, maybe a year or 2 years from now, I want you to make a mental image in your own mind of how you want it to be. And they do that. You know, if I say, hey, think of a pink elephant, you think of a pink elephant. Basics of NLP. But I want you to think about your business is, and I want you to notice how you feel when your business is exactly where you want it to be. And you pause. That's the little pause. That's giving them time to process what you just asked them to do. And now, can you share with me how that looks and how you feel? It's just asking questions. And they share with you because your program may not be the fit. But if they say, well, I see my dental practice as this, and they could tell you, and how do you feel about that? And they say, tell me more. You're getting them to basically sell themselves on hiring you as that coach. Or if you have the ethics to go, I'm not the guy. You need to talk to Tom over here at dental practice or us or something. So you need to, but the whole power of hypnotic language is just the power of story. And using language, I don't mean trying to mimic and mirror their words, but truly using language that doesn't bring up sales resistance. And
I was reading very last night. Have you done any reading from the author Bob Berg, The Go-Giver, and that whole series?
Yes.
I found a book he wrote pretty close to 10 years ago, but on persuasion. And so I'm reading that, and last night, the few pages I was reading was right on what you said, which is using the words that someone else used when you're talking to them back at them. They don't realize that you're saying the same word. And he gave this example. He said he was trying to book this speech, and the person that he was working with was just going above and beyond. And he was at this mixer, and he saw the person supervisor, and he said, hey, that your person just really went above and beyond. And he said, oh, thank you for letting me know that. And they didn't even need to do that. That's not even part of their job description. And he's like, oh, yeah. So they kept talking. And then weeks later, a period of time later, he saw the person again, and he just wanted to reiterate, because this was a big speaking job that Bob was getting. And he saw the supervisor again. He goes, hey, I just wanted to remind you, boy, your person is so great, because, the really interesting thing is they just didn't even, it wasn't even part of their job description. They just went above and beyond. And he said he saw a noticeable, the guy's eyes lit up, and he didn't go, oh, you just said the same words I did weeks ago, but it was his languages and his patterns. So maybe in conversation, if you're hearing people talk about, well, that just keeps me up at night, or something like that, you're going to just kind of mention that, and again, without being obvious. So I think that's a really big point that you're bringing up there.
It is, and what you're doing there is you're helping that person. That word has a meaning, or that phrase has a meaning to them. And so I tell a story inside my coaching program, and I'll keep this very brief, but when I met my wife, and she was very resistant. I'm not dating. I'm not looking to date. She was it. I could see it. And I'm like, I finally convinced her to, let's just have dinner. Clearly, this isn't a date, just food, right? But I did something that I teach in my coaching program when I talk about hypnotic language, is I just asked the right questions, found out what she was looking for. And when I say hypnotic language, I'm very soft and I'm curious. Hey, I'm just curious. Well, if you had to say, what are you looking for? If you had to say what's important to you in a relationship. And what she began to do was open up and tell me. And I listened, as you just said, for those keywords. Now, we're eating quesadillas and nachos, and it's 30 minutes. I don't drill her with questions, but I take those words and I come back and circle back. Earlier you said this was important. What about that's important? And I kind of smiled and laughed. Why is that important? And she went another level deep. And we did this over 30, 45 minutes. And at the end, I could literally see her physiology change deep breath, and she said 2 words. And those 2 words, I knew right then, if I had to ask myself morally and ethically, can I be that man in her life? And if I can, she's with me forever. And so, yeah, that's manipulative. Maybe not, because I got to find out exactly what she wants, and I can give that to her.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's one thing that I would say. Some people would go, it's manipulative, but guess what? If you did those things you just mentioned to get the quote-unquote at-bat, to get the opportunity, to get the chance, right? You still could have blown it at that dinner. Your personalities might not have meshed. Your, religious background might not have meshed. Your whatever hobbies might not have meshed. So it's not like they must do what I say and I've got it just gives you a little bit more of a chance to be paid attention to, because in this crazy world of text and instant this and that, sometimes you don't get that chance. So I think
you don't get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ethics there, you have to ask yourself, am I going to use this to take advantage of the situation? But for what it was for me was those 2 words, and that to today, and we've been married 13 years, been together 15. I can tell her, I know these are her words. And now I told this story in front of her and a big crowd of coaches. And first time she'd heard me tell the story, and she came up to me, she laughed. She said, "So you played me like a fiddle?" And I said, I said, "And I still am." And she started laughing. She said, her words, "Thank you," because I never felt comfortable around any guy. That's why I had a problem with dating, had a problem with relationships. And I immediately felt comfortable with you. So here's how you use this as a coach or consultant. Get beyond the noise, get beyond the hype, and find out what does that person really want, but more importantly, why do they want it? Yeah. And find out why that's important. And then when you hit that emotional level, when you understand someone's problem as well as they do, they will look to you for the answer. And then as a coach or consultant, you can say, here's how I can, would you like help with that? Yes, I would like help with that. Here's our program. So I teach it. Now, obviously, this on the podcast, we can't go through all the intricacies of it. Yep. But that's what I teach inside the program. And it really does work. If someone comes to me and says, Wayne, I want to start a business. Wayne, I want to sell my business. Or Wayne, I want to commit suicide. I take all 3 of those processes in the same question in coaching, because the same processes go back to their internal beliefs and what's holding them back. So I approach each of those the same way, and we end up with great results. So it's learning. If you want to learn hypnotic, I tell everybody at the podcast, learning hypnotic language isn't learning the embedded commands and the phonological ambiguities, and it's learning how to connect to a person's deep-rooted belief systems, and that's usually done with storytelling. You tell their story, your story, they're apt to tell their story. That's one key.
Wayne, I think you said it best by saying we can't go into a lot of detail on just one quick interview. So how can people reach out, connect with you, learn more, and get a little bit more of this great teaching?
Absolutely. I appreciate that so much. They can go over to my website. It's very easy and simple, howtosellcoaching.com. And if they accidentally mess up and type in howtosellyourcoaching.com, that goes to me as well. So howtosellcoaching.com is the easiest way. You can jump on there, look at a case study, and grab a hold of some resources. We've got a new book. It's not on there yet, but the book should be out in the next 30 days called The Wealthy Coach. It'll be a free book that people can download. It gives literally our entire process. So if they'll jump over there, they can download it, and I look forward to seeing them on there.
Wayne, thank you so much for coming on. It was really awesome to chat with you.
I have appreciated it. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.